Good evening and welcome to the first round of our budget hearings for the City of College Park. I'm Mayor Bianca Motley Broom. We have a full quorum with council members Clay, Karn, Allen, and Gay. And so we are going to get started this evening. I'm going to hand it over to our city manager, Ms. Darnetta Tyus.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council. I am Darnetta Tyus for the public who's watching, City Manager for the awesome City of College Park. We are excited to be here this evening for the first of our budget briefings with the council. As a part of creating this budget, I want to acknowledge what a pleasant experience it has been with going through and creating this document that we're presenting to you today with the awesome team that we have. This team heard the vision that I could share with them. The vision is one of stability as we prepare to grow. Stability as we prepare to grow. Our team took the exercise extremely seriously. There were very few proposals that were outlandish as they helped to shape what stability looks like. For me, a part of stability is addressing how the team was structured and organized to function. What you will see in the presentation today, as well as the presentations going forward for the next week and a half or so, is us presenting the budget in the groups and the clusters within which the teams are working. So tonight you're going to see strategic goal 1, which is economic growth. One of our team members had a scheduling conflict, so we will handle the economic development portion of the budget at one of the later dates when our economic development director is available. So keeping in mind that it is all about stability, how we're organized, what this budget will show you is the opportunity to pay some attention to increasing the salaries of our staff, to giving them the kind of equipment that they need to operate efficiently, as well as to be safe as they perform the duties that they perform on behalf of the residents of College Park. Stabilizing our staff, organizing them to work efficiently, absolutely will translate into better services being delivered to the residents of College Park and contributing to providing the city that they all deserve to live in. Tonight, you will have presentations from my team members, and they will introduce themselves as they speak. But right now, I'm going to turn it over to Althea to give you a budget overview and go through some of the general summaries and details of this budget. The summary and the overview that Althea is going to do today is going to take us a little bit of time, but we'll only do it at this one unless you want something different. So this is the first, so we will do the overview so that you have some context within which to put the individual budgets that you're going to be reviewing tonight. So without further ado, I want to, before she starts, I want to thank Althea and her leadership in getting us through this budget process, and I also want to thank Mercedes Miller for her input and support through this process. Thank you guys, and Althea, it's on you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. As City Manager Ms. Tyus just mentioned, I'll be going over the budget, just a brief overview of what is included in the citywide budget. The fiscal year 2022-2023 citywide recommended budget before you is $153,505,774,000. This budget, against the amended budget of $132 million, represents a 15.8% increase. And later on in the presentation, we'll get to the reasons for the 15.8% increase. Our fiscal year 2022-2023 proposed general fund recommended budget is $41,356,403.
Althea, excuse me, could you talk a little closer to the mic, please?
Yeah, I was trying to, but I can't get too
I
close
know
to the
it's
mic.
trying to get the chair in is a little tricky.
Is that better?
That's a lot better.
All right. The fiscal year 2022-2023 general fund recommended budget is $41,356,403. This is a 27% increase against the fiscal year 2022 amended budget of $32,473,296. The proposed budget also includes a $15,383,003 capital improvements appropriation for vehicles and equipment citywide. The general fund makes up $4.9 million of the total. The budget includes salary adjustments for general fund employees at $1.3 million, and this includes a 20% increase to sworn officers just approved last month by the council. And what's also included are the proceeds to fund the $4.9 million general fund's capital and equipment replacement costs. However, management has decided to move forward in a different direction with the financing of that $4.9 million for capital equipment in the general fund. And the recommended budget was prepared using the current millage rate of 12.619. The city has maintained the same millage rate for the past 10 years. The citywide revenue sources summary schedule that's before you provides an audited 3-year history of revenue by sources and department. The fiscal year 2022-23 top revenue citywide. Number 1 is charges for services, which accounts for nearly half of the city revenue citywide at 46.1%. This is primarily due to the revenue that we receive for providing utility services to our residents and commercial customers.
Yeah, are we on, it's kind of hard to tell what we're on.
We're on the recommended.
Is it on our display?
Yes, sir, it is.
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay, well, that makes it easier. Are you looking at the citywide revenue summary, the first pie chart at the top?
Yes, sir.
I've been in meetings all week, so I didn't have a chance to give you a heads up, but the state drugs fund, I think that's misleading.
That was not correct, yeah.
That can't be right.
The state drugs fund? Which one?
Well, it's, the general fund is saying it's 30.5% of revenue, and the state drugs fund is 46.1% of revenue. And that can't be right.
Where are you looking at?
I'm looking at the pie chart at the top of page, well, their pages aren't numbered, but
It's the first pie chart and the first
first
4
pie chart.
pages of the budget you gave us here.
Well, we're looking at the PowerPoint.
Yeah, we were talking about the page in the book. I had that labeled myself there, but, yeah.
Okay, it must have transferred over differently. We didn't catch
so
that one.
we don't have a copy of this PowerPoint presentation then? is that-
No.
Okay, well, I'd like to get a copy of that.
Okay, I can forward that.
So we
Okay.
disregard the one in the book here?
Yes, I'll take a look at that because
Okay,
that must have been
all
a
right.
misprint.
I'll get this in. Okay, all right, I'm sorry for interrupting you, but I
No,
had to
you're
get that
fine.
clarified.
Okay. As I was mentioning, the citywide top 3 revenues are, number 1, charges for services, which accounts for nearly half of the city's revenues at 46.1%. This is primarily due to the revenue that we collect for providing utility service to our city residents and commercial customers. The second largest revenue source is tax revenue, which accounts for about 30% of the city's revenues. Some examples of tax revenue are property tax revenue, hotel motel, and car rental tax revenue. Those are just a few examples of the tax revenue collected. The third largest revenue source is the transfers in from other funds. I'm moving on to the next slide, which is the fiscal year 2023 recommended citywide budget expenses by category. When compared to fiscal year 2022, the citywide recommended expenses shows an increase of 15.8%. There are several factors which make up for the increase in the expenses citywide. Number one being capital, the increase in capital outlay of $9.1 million. Number two, increases in personnel services. And those were the result of funding positions that were previously frozen in the prior fiscal year, which is the current fiscal year 2022, and salary increases across the board. Citywide personnel services accounts for 23.9% of the city's overall of the city's overall expenses, and operating expenses account for a little bit over 50% of the city's expenses citywide.
I'm a little confused. The personnel services is usually a pretty big chunk. So what does operating expenses include?
This is citywide, so it would include power cost, which is about $30 million in itself, the cost of sales. So citywide, general fund in the general fund, personnel services account for, majority of the expenses, but as far as citywide expenses, operating expenses accounts for a larger portion.
So sales of power to non-city entities, is that included in operating costs?
Yes, sir.
So what the power that we sell to ABC Data, for example, that's included in operating costs?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
That's $30 million by itself.
Yep, makes perfect sense. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. The next slide, which is the general fund expenses by department. And it also gives you a breakdown of general fund expenditure summary by category. Again, the graph shows the general fund's audited expenses for the past 3 years by department and category. The recommended budget is 27% higher when compared to fiscal year 2022 amended total budget. And again, the increase is primarily due to the restoration of position previously frozen, salary increases, and increase in capital outlay of $4.9 million. And as you can see with the pie chart, which shows personnel services, that accounts for 61% when the same strategy is applied to the general fund expenses. And operating makes up for 23%, then following capital outlay. Any questions? All right, moving on to general fund expenditures by function. Of the general fund's recommended budget expenditures, public safety accounts for 61%. And public safety is your police and fire departments. General government makes up for 17.4%. General government includes your administrative departments such as city clerk, city manager, finance, purchasing, HR, IT, communications, and inspections. Recreation accounts for 9%. Public works, which consists of streets, parks, building and grounds, accounts for 6.8%. Economic development accounts for 2.3%. And that includes the Main Street budget, and transfer out to other funds such as the transfers out to golf course and E911 accounts for 1.9% of the overall general fund budget.
Point of clarification though, even though that says public works, that's really, if the budget is organized we're doing things a little differently this year, but if the budget is organized the way it has been in the past, and I think it is from an account standpoint at least, that would mean that water and sewer is not included in Public Works. This is an administration of Public Works, or the overall Public Works entity. So water and sewer is in a separate account that's not included in that number. Is that correct?
That's correct, 'cause this is just the general fund.
Because those are considered to be enterprise funds.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
One of the things, it's always good to look at pie charts where you can see percentages and whatnot. I didn't see this in the book.
It's right, it's on page 13.
It is?
That one is in the book.
I couldn't find that one. Yeah, well, it's good to see it this way because, I don't know, I mean, obviously public safety is gonna be first and foremost with all cities and the budgets and whatever have you. Just looking at that chart though, okay, I've seen that one, okay, yeah, I got it. It just looks, Public Works, it seems like it's a little low considering the kind of city that we have, just in general. I mean, yeah, we're small, but, we have so much traffic in the day, at night. It's a turnstile operation. It's a nonstop, very fluid and transient situation, both with our hotels, with our apartment communities, and I don't know, I always thought that Public Works,
You don't mean Public Works, you mean Public Safety?
Public Works.
Okay, well, that's what I was just explaining.
It does comprise a larger portion
Yeah,
of the budget.
it's a larger portion there, I know in the other fund, but it's still just it always looks low for what we're dealing with in general, but, it's always good to take a look at it and see it that way. I think
Okay.
well, we'll get into it when we get to Public Works, whatever day that comes.
Okay, moving on to the next slide, the general fund revenues by sources. The pie chart breaks out the makeup of general fund revenues by sources, with property tax revenues representing 35.6% of the general fund revenues. Other taxes, which consist of franchise fees, mixed drink tax, and local option sales tax, accounts for 23.3% of the overall revenues by sources. License and permits accounts for 9.7%. Other incomes, this includes all your miscellaneous revenue and interest revenue, accounts for 12.9%. The reason that one is a little bit high is because other revenue includes the financing proceeds that we initially discussed at the beginning of the PowerPoint. But we have other options for that we're moving in a different direction with currently. Fines and forfeitures make up for 1.5%, charges and services 1.8%, and 15.1% of the general fund revenue is supplemented by funds transferred in from other city funds. All right, the 10-year history slides illustrates the taxable property values and adopted millage rate over the past 10 years. As you can see, as the bar graph fluctuates as far as it goes up, then it goes down, and it's going back up, we remain straight line with the millage rate at 12.619. Major increases in the general fund proposed budget. One of the increases is the employee increases. The budget takes into consideration the comp study completed in 2019. It incorporates the minimum salary range for all positions. Those not impacted by the starting salary range will receive a 5% increase. And that overall cost in the general fund is $732,422, and other funds cost $594,082. Now, this does not include the approval of the 20% for the sworn officers. Second item, budget includes the salary adjustment for the sworn officers, which netted at $609,215. Initially, the cost was $1,321,952, but the police department froze 10 positions, which resulted in the savings of $712,737. So it nets out to $609,215. Third major increase in the general fund, excuse me, not the general fund, this is citywide. I have the general fund, but this is citywide. Capital equipment total, $15.3 million. General fund makes up for 4.9, and the remaining balance from other funds, $10.4 million. The next slide shows the positions requested and funded in fiscal year 2022-2023. This is just the general fund that have 3 new positions funded. We had the financial administration, tax clerk, fire administration, deputy fire chief, economic development, and an economic development manager. Total cost, $278,378. We also included positions that were requested but not funded.
Althea,
Yes, sir? Go back.
Go back one slide.
Okay.
So economic development manager, that's gonna be under Artie, right?
Yes, sir.
So is that kinda like a deputy development director, more or less? Or,
I believe so.
okay.
Ms. Tias, can you clarify?
I don't know that we considered it at a level of a deputy. It was just support for that area.
Well, the salary sure looks like a deputy salary.
That's benefits as well.
Okay, that's what everything is.
Yes, sir.
So where is it actually at, like, what, like in the 50s?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, that sounds more like what you said, Ms. Tice. Okay, I got it.
Listed are the positions that were requested but not funding under building and grounds. We had about 6, 7 positions.
The faculty supervisor,
Facility,
facility, what is that, for the convention center or for here, in City Hall?
that was for a city-wide, primarily city facilities, not to include GICC, am I correct? Yeah.
And clarity for this section, guys, this was, I think, Councilmember Khan requested, an alternative, list. This is a list of things that are not funded, so not intended for anything other than to let you know, what staff would have liked to have had that we were not able to get in this budget. That is all this is.
So, City Manager, the facility supervisor position not being filled, who is responsible for overseeing the routine maintenance and so forth for each of the different facilities? I assume it's still the city clerk for City Hall, is that correct?
And we have a current position that will kind of relieve a little bit of the city clerk's responsibility for City Hall when we build a building position that's in this current budget. This is a position that they would have liked to have had in addition to that we didn't fund.
So this would be over all the buildings, with the exception of the Gateway Complex. I see Mercedes nodding, right. Because you have to administer that in a whole different way. But this would be over the recreation center buildings, the position they had requested would have been over the recreation center buildings and the fire stations and police station, et cetera, et cetera.
It would have provided assistance to the building position that we have that we're filling now. It would have been in addition to that, to provide support.
So in addition to the City Hall buildings position?
Yes.
Okay, so we've got budgeted a City Hall buildings position, that's already in the budget.
Yes.
We just had,
Yes, it is.
okay.
It has a broader focus than City Hall. It's just some of the pressure off of the clerk for managing activities at City Hall.
So our City Hall building supervisor would be beyond the scope of City Hall. The facility supervisor would be citywide, including City Hall as well. Is that right? Okay.
That we already have.
Well, I mean, I don't know, but it sounds like to me, if you got somebody to handle all of the city buildings, then sure to goodness they could handle City Hall too, right? Is that an overlap there that maybe,
That position isn't being.
These were not filled.
These aren't being fulfilled.
So today, we're going to be reviewing some of goal one. We're gonna get to the, public works, and then we can have a deeper discussion. So for the positions here, I would rather have Michelle be here to
Okay.
discuss
All right.
those,
Gotcha.
because that's not the focus today.
All right.
Okay.
As Ms. Tice mentioned, these are just positions that were requested, but were not funded. So we just wanted to show you a list of those positions requested by those departments. Inspections requested an administrative coordinator, MIS, which is IT, requested a cybersecurity risk technician, HR requested an HR generalist, police, IT specialist, and social media specialist, communications videographer, yeah. And the total general fund unfunded positions that were requested totaled $980,936.
That includes benefits, salary and benefits for those.
And vehicles
And vehicles for those
requested for those
positions.
positions.
Thank you.
Other considerations not funded, I don't know if Ms. Tice would like to elaborate on this one.
One of the councils suggested, that if they had their way, they would do a 10% increase, to staff. We didn't see a way to do that, but this is the additional 5% over the increases that we've already provided in there. And so we did not fund that, but we committed to doing a list of discussions that we had that we weren't able to fit into this budget. So this fits into that.
Now, the only increases not in there, I'm assuming you're talking about the police department increase that we gave. There are other increases that are in here outside of the 5% we talked about us doing overall.
And the elevation to the minimum level of the comp plan plus 5% for those who aren't impacted. That is what is in the budget. This is what is not. This would be over and above all that we've done. And we're just showing it to you because we were asked to show you what is not there.
But in all fairness, I think, I'm happy. I think if you average it all out, you probably could end up with maybe not quite 10%, but I'll bet you came close.
Next, we're listing the capital equipment requested by departments that were cut out the budget, per se, and they were not funded. So we are providing you with the list of those items that also were requested. You have a list in your book that shows what is included in the budget, but this list shows what was cut from the budget before you. And I won't read through each of them. This just provides you with the list of those departments and the equipment that was requested. And just to note, the portable cameras, there is $10,000 in the budget. They initially requested $20,000 worth of funding, but we cut that in half and provided them with $10,000 to fund half of the equipment they've requested.
You ought to be able to get some pretty good cameras for $10,000.
Total capital equipment requested that wasn't funded in the general fund, $1.5 million. equipment requested in other funds, and those funds are listed. Total that, was cut out of the budget, 2.1 million.
Mercedes, that chiller, was that, I know you touched on that earlier. Is that the one that's possibly gonna eventually have to be replaced, or is that another one? That's another one. So the one that needs replacing is in the budget? Okay.
This is just the list of the remaining budget meetings. Our next meeting will be held April 11th, which is Monday at 6:30. And we will discuss the departments which fall under Goal 2, Quality of Life. Any questions?
Could I get a copy of the last rundowns that you have? I don't have it in the book, so.
The PowerPoint?
Yeah, I
I'll
think we
make
all
sure-
want copies.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
I'll
like
email,
that,
yeah,
Yeah,
I'll email the
and-
copy.
Okay.
In the future, though, I'd like to have a copy of what you're going to present
Understood.
in advance, so I'm not just seeing it for the first. I know a lot of it is a repeat of what was in the book, but I'm not just, some of it I'm seeing for the first time.
Okay, understood, yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, well, we will move to our first department, business license.
The questions associated. Hello,
Ms. Ames, how are you? Doing well.
Great.
All right, so any questions on the first page?
So this is our business license, page one.
Yes.
First line, 51, no, so whose salary is this in this line? This is one salary, because I see the two names on the chart here. Whose salary line is this, 5010?
It's for one person.
Okay, I'm asking, which salary is this?
The business license clerk, Belinda.
Okay, so there's only, so the city clerks, their salaries and stuff, they're not in this?
No.
No.
Got it, okay.
Any other questions on page one?
No,
Where's the other guy? Don't you, isn't it Julian?
Breland is Breland connected with this one, Shavela?
No. Yeah, he's on legislative side.
I noticed a lot of you get workman's comp, but here you have workman's comp being zero, so you just didn't put anything down at the bottom of the page.
Ms. Ames, can you answer that question? On the bottom of page one, workers' comp is set at 0.
That's normally the finance department.
Sorry.
We don't monitor the information.
That's normally the finance department, and we would put that.
Yeah.
So that's under your department?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any other questions on page one?
I'm good.
Hearing none, we'll move to page two.
All good.
I did have one question.
All right.
Is anything that can give you the ability for people to do their permit online?
That's under inspection,
Permits.
Permits.
Do I permits on? I think Shavela was working with IT. Shavela for, us to do our business license online.
Ms. Ames, did you have a question?
I'm sorry.
Ms. Ames, the question was, is there anything in this budget for the business license that allows people to get their licenses online?
That's also in the legislative budget. We have it budgeted in a separate department, not under this one.
Okay. Any other questions?
This is an easy one.
Okay, so there's two more pages that
Hereby budget transactions.
Any questions on those two pages?
I'm good till the next section.
All right.
All right.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Our next department is inspections. Good evening.
Evening.
All right, this is we've got 3 pages on this one. Questions on page 1?
Same question, first line. So how many folks are in this salary line here? 50-10 again.
3.
Okay, 3. Okay, same 3 that's on the charts, right? Got it. All right.
And that's for all the inspections, including the apartments as well?
For the 3 employees, that's it.
It doesn't include anything that has to do with the apartment.
Don't we sub that out?
Yeah, we sub that out.
Yeah, we do.
That's up.
Okay, so that's first. So the inspectors themselves,
Are we looking, is that line 526170 on page 2? I said, is that, is the subbing out, is that line 526170 on page 2?
It's
It looks like-
actually coming out of Oscar's salary right now. The, Pond and Company. It's actually,
We're transferring those funds to make up for the cost of the contract.
So that's your apartments are in that line there?
526170 on
That's the
page 1 of
92,000?
3.
contractual services where the apartments are.
Yeah, it's under contractual services, apartment inspector, rental ordinance, and then a consultant for cell tower applications too,
Right.
another inspection service.
okay, question, so at some point, are we gonna get inspections employees back here, or what are we,
Chief building inspector.
yeah,
We're working hard to fill all, open vacancies now.
okay, so so Pond is here because we have open positions we can't fill, or,
Not that we can't fill them, we've now clarified our focus on where to and how to identify good candidates for those positions.
okay, what,
We posted, we looked, the staff wasn't happy with the quality of candidates that we saw. We now have a better outreach, strategy for filling those positions, so yes.
okay, so those positions that Pond are handling right now, we're gonna wean ourselves off of Pond and get staff back, is that what you're saying?
That is the intent.
Okay.
And
Is
that will be the chief building inspector, correct?
Correct.
So that'll put how many positions back per se? Pond is handling it with Pond employees, I guess, right? Pond's got 1 employee.
Well,
Doing-
that person is making up what Oscar used to do, which is the
Okay, got
director
it,
of
got it.
inspection / chief building inspector.
But that's not the code enforcement officers.
No,
That's,
no,
this
no.
is, that's another, that's
Correct.
another whole,
And-
but,
and
okay, got it.
The periodic inspections of the apartment buildings, we outsourced that
outsourced that
a
too.
while back. Oscar wasn't, I
Right,
mean, he would come in on a special case, but it was outsourced
It's outsourced,
in
yes, sir.
general. And that was part of, when they cleared out an apartment and they brought it back online, they had to have it inspected.
Correct, yes.
Is that in this budget?
That's
That-
up under
that
the
outsourcing.
contractual
Contractual
services.
Under the contractual
The
services.
92,000?
526170.
And being able to do permits online.
Which one is it?
in IT.
5170?
It's on page 1 of 3 in the detail in the back.
Is being able to do permits online in any of these.
It's in my
budgets?
budget, yes.
Which line item?
You know, with all the new building that's going on, we might,
It's up under 52, 5730.
that might need to be a little bit higher, but
DP
Yep.
equipment.
Well, the new,
Sages Network online software.
Ken, with the new building that's going on, we'll have to outsource that.
the apartments and the townhomes and,
All of that. I
Yeah.
mean, the chief building inspector needs to coordinate it, but I can't believe that he's gonna be able to do that all by
No.
himself.
Well,
Or she.
no,
it's just gonna take a lot of work
but we
with,
gotta have one to coordinate it.
you know, with the Diamond coming in and West Fayetteville Road and all of those popping in, it's gonna take a lot of work.
Exactly.
That number might be higher, but that probably will be in the following year's budget.
Exactly. We're not projecting that much of that will happen this year, and so we'll be able to take a look at that.
So you're saying we're not gonna have an inspector this year?
I did not say that.
Oh,
No, she was saying that we're not projecting a lot of the 6 West development.
Sure, I got that, but there's no inspection salary in this budget proposed starting in July?
51, 50, 10.
The consultant is still there, I get that, but we're not gonna look to staff it for the next year, is that what you're saying?
That's not what she said.
Building inspector we're recruiting for now.
Okay, and we got the budget for that in the in the budget?
Yes.
Got it, okay.
Any other questions on page 1? Moving to page 2. I did have another question about line 526170. There is, if you look at the transactions line, there's contractual services for the stenographer, but I think, is that something that can be adjusted? Because I think we're trying to lean on technology.
Well, she still actually does the 2 plan meetings for me.
Okay.
Planning Commission
Okay.
and, BZA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I thought she retired altogether.
I thought,
No, I thought that was just from,
I thought
it wasn't made clear to
that
me whether it was
person
for
resigned.
altogether or,
Okay, so we will check into the
Okay.
altogether. I am sure that she resigned from the city council minutes, and we are working a strategy for that. We will take a look at this to see if that should be falling in the same category.
okay.
Okay,
right.
so she possibly did not resign from your
Correct.
outfits? Okay, got it. So there were 2 different contracts she had, or just?
well, mine was never just, wasn't a contract. It was just assigned
right.
to her.
Do the work,
to
pay as you
do-
go?
Correct,
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
invoiced, yes.
All right.
Any other questions on page 2? And page 3 is just totals. Any other questions for inspections?
I have the next page, which is
Okay.
page 1 of 3 of the detail, line 52, 57, 30. I assume this is the SAGE that we approved the other night. This is the workflow processing of review of prints and so forth, correct?
Yes,
And that is actually consisting of 2 costs for this coming year. It's the get started cost, I presume, because as I remember, the get started was about 62, 67, something like that. And then there was also the annual fee for the
Correct.
licenses.
yes,
And so we're anticipating that. We haven't signed the contract yet, but
That's
we're
correct.
anticipating that, and that covers all the departments.
yes. Well, the
Okay, good,
major departments, yes.
good job.
5700, I see we still got the square rigger there. I don't know if any of y'all remember, but we were having a lot of issues. That's the vehicle maintenance system there that Moody's did, and at one point, we weren't getting a whole lot of data from that. You know, they bring the cars in, they'd fix them and give them back to us, I guess. So I'm assuming y'all resolved that.
I
Years back.
was going to ask that question, Joe.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody's.
You beat me to it.
I don't think anybody's here that remembers that maybe, but yeah, square rigger was you were here. Yeah, it was a vehicle maintenance issues with, police, fire, everybody that brought the vehicles in, and I think we got it straightened out. I
Well,
thought we did.
they were
somewhere.
entering the data at the end of the year.
Yeah.
They weren't
Yeah.
entering it on a real-time basis. And has anybody talked to Willis Moody about it? Is he happy with what he's getting now or not? No. He is not happy. Are they not entering the data in a real-time basis? Not entering it at all, or what?
I would have to check with Moody, but, they weren't entering the data on a real-time basis the last time.
So that's recent, that's recently, that's a problem. I think I think we ought to invite them back to council meeting.
Yeah, I'd like to get caught up in, now, Willis Moody, is that a partnership now, or with Moody's, or what is that?
No, he's our purchasing.
Purchasing.
Oh, there's still some department heads I haven't met yet, I wanna meet that guy. So-
But
Okay, okay,
when we
all
cover that area,
Yeah.
I think we should invite them back and let them explain for the third year of why we should renew their contract, when they're not, giving us the data that each year they say they're gonna give us.
Yeah.
So Althea, is this line item gonna be in everywhere we do have equipment?
That has fleets.
Yeah,
Or is it-
anything that has to do, you probably want to see Square River, you see, Moody's allocation.
Yeah,
Y'all could talk up a little bit, cause y'all don't have microphones, you and the city manager, I just wanna make
But the
sure.
square rigger will be in each,
Throughout every department that has a vehicle, you should see some type of, maintenance cost at Moody's.
yeah.
okay,
It's spread across everybody.
They spread
okay,
it
yeah,
out.
I just wanna make sure it's,
Since this meeting, I believe, is being broadcast, just for clarification, if anybody out there is listening, Willis Moody has no connection with Moody's, the
Garage, no.
garage that maintains our vehicles.
No.
And
Except that he's fleet manager for us. So I don't want anybody to think badly of Willis.
Yeah, I thought that was a new partnership or something. I've been gone a minute, getting back acclimated. Line 6,000 here. I've gotten a few complaints every now and then about when we have a rezoning, wherever it is, I guess inspections or whoever goes out there puts the sign up out there. And a lot of times, people can barely read the sign, it's just confusing, it's small, and, I guess somewhat, to some folks, somewhat unreadable or whatever have you. Now, I've seen different types of zoning notice signs in other areas that are a little bit more legible. I mean, you gotta put it in black and white and try to put as much detail as you can, I guess, but, a lot of residents will say, well, we didn't know anything about it, and the response from staff would be, well, the sign was right out there, and they're like, well, we can't see that thing, we don't know what that says, you can't see that driving by there or whatever have you, unless you get out your car and walk up to it and you can read the thing. But do we send that out? Let's say, I don't know, we've got an email list of residents, right?
Correct.
How much more would it cost to say, well, here's a new zoning coming to a neighborhood potentially near you, just FYI?
Well, everybody that's in the 1,000-mile radius get a letter.
They get a letter.
Right.
1,000 foot.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry.
1,000
But-
foot radius.
But the sign, I think, is what the problem is. I mean, it's the stakes that they provide to us where we get the signs ordered from. So we have to actually hammer those down. Now, if we find a place where we can get tall stake signs and put them up higher, then that might eliminate the problem. But right now, it's just the stake signs the stakes that they provide for us.
That sounds like an easy fix.
Yeah. In
I think
particular,
we should do that, because I remember when we had the issue with the battery storage facility, that people were complaining that that it was below the level of the grass, for
Right.
example.
Right.
Well, in particular, I guess, two different circumstances with that. When it's an area that is within 1,000 feet, you said 1,000 feet or 1,000 yards within a residential area, in particularly, you want to make sure that signage is visible. Now, if you got one on the other side of West Point Drive, over back by Kimmy Construction, I mean, you got to put it out there, but when it's in a high-traffic residential area, that you're going to hear back, so you want to make that thing clear and maybe up the fonts a little bit, to make sure it's legible. But I've heard that every now and then. So
and another issue that's really not into the budget, but we need to make sure we get them taken up.
Yes.
I see some that are out there that are 2-3 months old, so.
And I was out yesterday doing that.
All right, any other questions on the budget level?
I think we've beaten this one to death.
Yep. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Moving on to the GICC Special District.
Here to answer any questions.
Okay, we'll start on page, well, it's only one page. So, questions on page 1?
Yes, the first line, 1190, 311190. All I can say is, wow. In 2022, we got 474, 740, and we're anticipating
640, yeah.
640, 470.
Well, if you linearize it all the way out from what it is right now, I guess the 474, 740 is for 9 months, is that correct?
No,
Is that just the average for the?
That tax is due,
in
it-
January,
yeah.
so
Yeah,
we've
you
collected
can't
most.
linearize that
Okay,
because
Correct.
it comes in a chunk.
and it comes
Correct.
in behind
time.
schedule as well, right?
Yeah.
I had the same questions, Councilman
Yeah.
Clay. How are we expecting such a large
Why-
increase?
Why
There is-
do we expect it to?
There is a 3% increase in our property tax values that we're projecting across the board. So that's why that came in at 640,000.
But-
And we have yet to
but
collect.
the 2022 actual was 474. I'm not talking about the increase over, I'm talking about the fact that we're recommending 640,000, where in 2022, the actual amount collected, which is probably the total amount, is that correct at this point?
No,
Okay, so, how much do we if you had to make a wild guess, what do you think the 2022 actual amount is going to be this year?
I don't even want to make a wild guess. I would have to get the detailed information on that from our property tax administrator in order to get that.
But to the Councilman Ellen and I, the interchange that we had, those taxes are largely in at this point, are they not?
About 97% of it.
Okay, so that actual for 2022 is close to being 100%.
Correct.
So if it were knock off, reduce it to 450, reduce it to even to 400, and it's gonna go to 640?
We have a 3% increase in the property tax built in.
Yeah,
That's
but
more than
3% of
That's-
400,000
yeah, that's a lot
is
more than
about
3%.
100 and what, 20?
And he's
No,
basing
I
that,
mean, less than that, 12.
he's not basing that on the collection
He's basing it on the value.
exactly, on the value at the time, our current digest. So this 474,000 does not represent what we've collected off the current digest. This is just a portion. I say 97% because we've collected of the general fund tax revenues. We're almost at 97%, so I put 97% across the board. But I would have to get the detail from Philip to clarify the 640,000.
So who calculated the 56% increase? Who would have calculated that?
The 56% increase is based on the amended budget, not the collected actual. It's,
Okay, let's just say that it was linear, and say that we had 410,000. In fact, let's say we had 390,000. So you take 410, you add 130 to it, and that would be 540. So then you're saying you're going from 540 to 640. That's 100,000 on a base of about, you're talking about a 20% increase. I'm just throwing around very rough numbers in my head.
And 3% would be a little bit less.
And 3% would be less than that, a lot less than that. So even at my conservative estimate, it's still a lot less. That just does not feel right.
No,
Fit-
I noted it as well.
Our Philip, the property tax revenue administrator, calculated these projections. I will get this information. I have the detail. I just need to look it up because I have the details of the calculations as well. And
Yeah.
I can bring that back to you.
I'm sorry, and I would have given you a
And that's
heads up,
fine.
but I just haven't had time.
No, that's fine.
The
Understood.
3% would take it to about 556, what I figure out around that.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, let's get
however
the
you slice it, it's way off.
let's get the information,
just get the
and let's
information.
get the basis for that projection. And any other questions on that page?
I've got one, and the special district tax. I believe I remember what the special district actually used to be, but it may have changed at this point. We used to have a map for it, but I understand I don't know if we can pull a map necessarily, or if anyone has one. But just the list of those entities that are included in there, I'd just like to see that. I'm assuming it's expanded over the last 5 years now, since the last time I took a look at the district itself. This was the one section of the budget I really would have loved to have had Philip here, just in general. A lot of times you get that tax side of things and assessment in terms of what's coming in and what's projected in the whole nine, and, but that's neither here nor there at this point, but,
Okay, I can get that information for you.
all right.
Any other questions?
No, just,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
well, I'm further out. I'm way out on 205, and I'm actually into the convention center.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Next is Convention Center Fund.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
Good evening.
It's good to see that the revenues are inching back up, not where we were before, but they're going up,
Questions on page 1?
okay?
It
I
looks,
can hardly see this chart here, but I guess I got my little magnifier here, because I knew I was gonna need it.
I had a question on 34-1900. It was, the actual amount, was 121,
Is it 1900?
but
19.
department head requested 458,000.
That
And-
was including the naming rights,
that
contract that we
includes the
had,
naming
and the
rights?
potential for naming
Okay.
rights, yes.
Where, is that done? We got
No.
that yet?
I don't think that that's a good deal for us.
Really?
No.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the answer.
I don't think it's a good deal for the city. The deal ended up being $1.25 million for 5 years, which was only $250,000 a year, and it was only for the arena. And I don't think it's worth it to put a name on a building for that small amount. And we had an evaluation done, and the evaluation said that it should start at $450,000 and go up to $700,000.
Now, I thought we were talking a lot bigger numbers previously. I thought.
Well,
it
that
looking-
was when they wanted the convention center and the arena. Then they determined that they only wanted to do the arena. So the funds did, and to put your name on something for 5 years, I think we need a longer contract if we're gonna commit, to marketing it under that name, because in 5 years, if they walk away, we're gonna have to start over again.
Yeah, and that name doesn't quite associate with the kinds of things that we were, certainly the kinds of things we were doing in the convention center.
Correct.
And even with the arena, it just doesn't cover the full spectrum of things, so it's somewhat misleading as a name.
Correct.
I thought. I mean, if you put the name of a bank on it, everybody knows the bank is not associated with an arena. But if you said, so-and-so's gun club, and put that name on the arena, well, everyone would have a real problem associating it with everything else that's going on.
Correct. I would be coming back, and we'll probably be putting it in the market and not having to pay any money up front. But I think it's worth it.
Okay, good. Now that makes,
And
All
for-
right, line 39, 1255.
Yeah, that's where I'm going to.
Yeah. There's a pretty big difference between the request and what the city manager has recommended. The transfers in.
Operating transfer in. We have to determine that.
Collectively, it's only about a $400,000 difference. It's
Right.
basically probably where we put the transfers in into what fund it was coming from. But collectively, it's only a $400,000 difference if you look
Okay.
at the bottom line. We actually transferred in more collectively.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'd like to, I didn't hear the answer.
I said collectively, it actually is $400,000 more. It's basically where the transfers were coming from initially, and we switched the line items. But if you look at the total, $2,020,000 under the department head requested versus city manager recommended, which is $2,004,000. So it's
Got it.
actually $400,000 more.
So is this reflected on the funds flow sheet?
Yes, it is.
So part of that comes, the line item
1.9 million.
39,1228, it was just the opposite.
Yeah, it's just,
So,
Say that again, I'm sorry?
the line above it, 39,
above
12,
it.
28, is the opposite of,
just the opposite.
Mhm.
So when you
Yeah.
put those two together, that's about 400,000 difference. Yeah.
Yeah, and no, see, what happens is, probably the transfers are in from, hospitality were in a different line item, and I applied it to the correct line item, which shows about 1.9 million coming from hotel motel tax.
Okay.
any other questions on page 1?
I see the AV commissions. I guess we're looking forward to everything going back up and being back.
Right.
Looks like you're gunning to break 10 finally. I'm glad to see that projection.
Does that include what you expect on pay-per-view if we get part of that?
No, it does not. I did not include any of that until it is, I want it to be a reality. And right now, I don't see a reality.
Yeah, keep lowballing it. That's good.
I'm sorry, I'm going to hang us up on this for a minute. So I'm looking at the funds flow sheet, and I'm looking at operating transfers in. And under GICC on the funds flow, I see a grand total of $642,095.
What page are you on?
I'm on the funds flow sheet that we have.
Is that in the back? Or?
No, I requested it. Maybe everybody didn't get it. But anyhow, the funds flow sheet says that for the GICC special district, am I on the right, maybe I'm not on the right one.
No.
Okay, convention center should be 2.4 million. Right on the net.
Right.
Okay, good. Thank you for straightening that out.
Didn't get hung up at all. All right, any other questions on page 1? Moving on to page 2.
I had a question on page 2, shared personnel cost. In 2022, the actual was 42, and we're coming back with 25,000. What? And at 42, we had used 172% at the 3/4 point of the year when this was run, this report was run. So I would expect another, I don't know, 12,000 maybe, added onto that, so you'd be 50-some, and you're going in for 25. How is that possible?
Okay, the shared personnel is the police and fire. And in 2022, some of the police and fire from the arena was charged to the convention center. So we're getting where those charges need to go. And for the convention center, if you look at 21, we were at 19, so 25 is a more accurate number because all of this 42 is not just for the convention center, it's for the convention center and the arena.
Under communications and utilities, it appeared that a lot of the other departments went up significantly in that category. Was there any particular reason why? I mean, it's great that things are staying, that we're actually projecting a little less, but it just seemed out of place in relation to the other departments, especially the ones in City Hall. I mean, heat and power for the ones in City Hall were just kind of, yeah.
We've probably been overcharged for years, so maybe we're just getting our bid.
Alrighty then. Any other questions on page 2?
I have a related question to that. And I don't even know that it applies to tonight's budget. As a result of some of the things going on with Godby Road Computer Center, the fiber optic communication links are going to have to be reworked.
Yes.
And that should be critical to your environment. And I'm wondering where those costs are going to end up. And I don't know that they should end up in your area or IT's area, and that's why I say it may not be a fair question at this time. But I do want to make sure it's in the budget somewhere, because we may have to spend a bunch of money to do that.
Yes, that's a possibility. We're still looking into that. Citadel, of course, is ATL data center right now.
Right.
So they're doing away with their circuits.
Right.
So we are looking to repurpose our bandwidth circuits. We're still looking at companies. One is Zayo, and we don't know what that cost is just yet.
Okay, but does that mean the placeholder for that is 0 in the budget, or you doubled what you think it might be because you're super conservative?
No, we have a placeholder. It's still under Citadel.
Okay, so you're assuming the same charges
Right now, yes.
Now, are those charges in this budget?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and what are they?
If you go to 525730.
525730 RNMDP.
That would be for it's the convention center.
Okay.
Let me just double check.
So, is that charge supposed to be just the usage charge for it, or is it? I mean, it's not it's an outsourced function. We're not doing the R&M on it. We're not doing the maintenance on it, et cetera.
That's correct.
So is that the total cost of renting the circuits?
That's the total cost of renting the circuits. Is that on the GICC side is at 525730. It's a 10 gig circuit right now, and the projected cost for that is $14,700.
Is how much?
$14,700.
Okay, so right now we're not in danger of, when we actually do get this figured out, of running way over budget, in your opinion?
That's correct.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear.
We're negotiating those costs with Zayo.
That's what I
right
wanted to
now.
hear. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Other questions on page 2? Hearing none, we'll move on to page 3.
I got a question on 6590 contingencies. That's an awful large facility, and we don't have anything built in for contingencies at all?
No, we do not. What we do have, if something happens to the building, we do have access to the TPD funds, but we do not usually keep anything in contingencies, no. If we have an emergency, Althea graciously just changes the budget over so we can cover an emergency. No, but you know what I mean.
Any other questions on page 3?
Nope.
I mean, you can expect something to go wrong. I mean, it's, you know,
Always.
like the water coming through and I hope,
I'm sorry,
no, that's all.
I apologize, I didn't mean to cut you off, Councilman Allen. Page 4,
Line, what is it, 5964, bad debt reserve.
That is-
You got $9,000 in there. What's that about?
Jane,
I'm sorry?
that's
What
for the
line?
bad debt for proof of the pudding.
It's a contractual requirement that we have it in there. All the reserve accounts are actually per the food and beverage contract. They don't get to spend it unless we approve it, or unless we have to write something off. But every year we have to put in some money for the
So a
contract.
little contingency escrow account
Yeah.
in case, all the dishes break or something?
No, that's actually
That's,
the bad debt.
yeah.
All right,
The expendable is if the dishes all break.
okay. Well, I'm glad you got the dishes covered too. All right. Yeah, and you guys, I just want to say this, Mercedes, I guess you're our longest serving department head at this point. The more years I do this and I see you operate and stuff, first of all, I see why you want it to be back over there, number one. When you know a department like the back of your hand where you could really do it, with one hand tied behind your back, I look at that convention center as a city in a sense. And if we operated this city, we do a great job. But I look at that carpet, 20 years old, and people say it still looks brand new in there. And, but anyway, I don't want to go off on a tangent, but, and all Ms. Tyus departments they're doing a great job. But in that area there, it's just really so important because that's kind of our crown jewel, more or less. And I think it's a big key to everything else kind of working in terms of what we're trying to do here. But when you got a person that knows it, and I mean knows chapter and verse about it, you sleep a lot better at night.
And
But
we had
anyway,
we had people running everywhere with the COVID shots.
Right. That doesn't mean you're getting a raise or nothing now.
I
Don't
appreciate
let it go
it.
to your head.
All I really want is for the people that I have behind me to be taken care of, because they're the ones that do all the hard work.
It puts on a good face for the city when people walk in
does.
there, really. It does.
I have a question on the next line.
Okay.
7560, 76 office furniture and replacements and so forth. I just don't understand, a lot of it. We were requesting some, it got cut back. We spent 96,000 actually, this year. Are we gonna be replacing any furniture or anything in the GICC this year, other equipment?
The only thing we're gonna try to replace this year would be our fire panel area, because we're holding it together by a rubber band.
Yeah, I saw that,
So
yeah.
we're gonna try to replace that. So we're trying to repair those things that are life safety issues first before we get to the point of cosmetics. It helped a lot that a couple years ago we were able to put new carpet in the ballroom. So if you look down the line, we've done small jobs as we come down the way. We redid the bathrooms one year, we redid the carpet one year, we redid the air walls, so that it's not such a big purchase. But that life safety thing with the fire panel, that's important for us.
Yeah, I like the 5-year plan that you've got there.
Well, yeah, Ken, she has that in here.
Yeah, I saw that. It's very good.
And that's something that I think we need to think about, that 5-year plan, because we've laid out a bunch of money this year to upgrade a whole bunch of things. And that doesn't mean that all this stuff that's projected out, that isn't all in there. And it's going to still be coming.
Well, the other thing that, when I look at furniture and repairs, so forth, the prices are gonna just keep going up. So, that might be something we look at later on down the road, because, I mean, we can buy it now or this year, this coming year. In a year from that, who knows what the price is gonna be? I mean, they're gonna be sky high, so we just kinda need to keep that in mind, I guess.
Well, all you have to do is look out to the 24-25 budget, and you got $3.6 million there. And in the previous year, you got $1.4 million. So there's a bunch of expenses coming that we need to be prepared to pay.
Line 6420, concessions purchased. That went a lot higher in
6420.
6420 under
Yep.
cost of sales.
That's because with our concessions, we're using a lot of third-party vendors. That way we don't have to expense the labor. We don't have to have anybody cook it. We have people to come in, and all we do is take the commission, and we don't have the food costs. And since food costs are going up so high, we don't have to worry about that. So they provide the food, we just get the commission because we have the audience. Yes. Yes. Speak up, Giant.
Food and labor costs both should go down.
Sure.
Because all we're getting is commission on those, but we're showing the full revenue less the commission that we're paying out, or we're having to pay. So you see some savings in food and labor.
Got it. Thank you.
I just look at, equipment and replacement cost and stuff, everything's been there 20-some-odd years or so. I'm sure we've had to replace dozens and dozens of items. What types of things have lasted the whole nine? I mean, the dishwasher or the ice machine maker, what's actually?
Well, most of the things we have had repaired or we've had replaced along the way. Every year before, in the budgets when we were very active, we always replace stuff. And then we have expenditure reserve for proof of the pudding. That can be used for equipment. And then even when we went into the arena, Proof of the Pudding actually, they made an investment of $200,000 for equipment for the arena. So we get it where we can, but we take care of it. For things like chairs and and equipment like that, in our budget before COVID, every year we added more chairs to our inventory. We put the same chairs in the convention center that we put in the arena, so if we need them, we can always use the other one without the client knowing the difference. So there's just been some strategic things that have done, so we won't have to get so many things from the outside.
Any other questions on pages 4 or 5?
Nope.
Any questions on the transactions pages? Got 9 of those.
Yeah, well, okay. I have them highlighted. I don't have questions because one is a fire alarm panel, and I don't have any argument with that on page 9. And the CCTV unit you're putting in, how many of those?
The new camera system will actually be on the May agenda, and that's for if we have any cameras to go out or if we need to repair any, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And to expand the system we have, because our system is antiquated now.
Yeah. Is that part of page 8, 7121? Like the network switches, are those replacement switches, or is that
Hold
new?
on, let me get you the network switch person, because I don't know anything about IT.
Just curious.
I give you Mr. Robert Lagon.
That's another guy I haven't met. There's a lot of folks I don't know.
14 years.
Have you met me before?
You just haven't climbed up on the roof.
Have you met me before?
Absolutely. You
Yeah?
know you very well, yeah.
I don't remember you. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah. I'm asking Ambrose, who is that fella? Yeah. So the switches and the software upgrades, the 2,500 there at 7121. I hate software upgrades. Why can't we just buy something and let it work without having to keep upgrading stuff? If it works when you buy it, let's just let it sit. That's the biggest racket in town.
Yes.
But-
Yes, but
So-
those are replacement.
Okay, they're replacement.
Yes.
Okay.
Is this part of the what was it, a year or two ago, we were talking about expanding our ability in the network to expand the Wi-Fi. You remember that?
Yes, absolutely.
Is this tied into that, another step in that evolution? Or
It is another step in that. That Wi-Fi phase 1 and phase 2 is complete, so it is functional and working very well. There are a few old switches that we still have, where we supply hard lines to the client, a more dedicated connection.
Okay, so it's a dedicated, these are drops down to the booth or whatever?
Yes, absolutely.
And instead of going Wi-Fi?
That's correct.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
On line 52, it's on page 4, management fees. And then when you go over to the, breaking down the line, it says variable management fees, 7% over 800,000.
I'm sorry, what line are you on?
Well, I looked at management fees.
What page?
I'm on page 4 out of 5.
Oh, 4 out of 5. Okay, we're going back.
You way.
Yeah, because I just,
Okay.
I had my note over here on page, actually 6 out of 9, where it says variable management fee, 7% over 800,000, 6260.
Oh, yeah, I see it.
I don't know what the variable management fee is. I don't know if
That is for the contract that we have with Proof of the Pudding. There is a peak amount that after we, it maxes out at 275,000. Come on, John. Come on, John.
Yeah, the management fee is based on the contract and the revenues. Fixed is $60,000, and then the variable is anything, 7% of any revenues over 800,000, and it's capped out at 275,000. So if it exceeds 275, they get no more money.
Okay.
One question, you touched on Proof. I guess, I know we have a good, long-standing relationship with that outfit. But I noticed, they buy in, they really have invested in the place in terms of equipment and everything and whatever have you. How long, is it 5-year contracts now with Proof, 10-year? What is it now?
We have a 5-year contract with Proof that should be up in 23 or 24.
And I guess when you're so,
25.
integrated into an outfit like that where they've invested in terms of, hard fixed stuff, could we ever actually, if not that we need to sever with anybody, but how do you detangle yourselves away from something like that where you really have everything? Would they be pulling equipment out of here if something happens?
No,
I guess.
What you would have to do is hire a specialist in to come in and to do an RFP for that, because we've been with Proof for almost 35 years.
Yeah.
So that is somebody outside of my realm coming in to redo an RFP to do that contract.
Not that I'm even thinking about that. If you're happy with them, that means they're doing a good job. But I always kind of wondered about that. We got contracts all over the place, but we don't have some that are so deep where they're bought into the actual infrastructure.
Well, we have a very unique arrangement, as I recall, with Proof of the Pudding, that is a jewel.
Well, it's like no other facility, because basically their staff works for me. Where if you go to another facility, it's them and the other people, and they kind of do what they want to do, and then management will kind of tell them what they want to do, but they run their own company. At the convention center, we run the whole operation. So when they work for the GICC, their check comes from Proof of the Pudding, but they abide by all the rules that we have here.
Yeah,
Now, there are some facilities that have taken their food and beverage in-house. That's a big expense, and I don't think we want to incur that kind of labor or that cost for food and beverage, and even for redoing equipment.
Isn't our arrangement rather unique?
It is. It is. They don't really have any arrangements like ours anymore, where it's a management fee. Usually there is a big percentage that's paid to most of the catering companies.
Yeah, if it ain't broke.
Yeah, if it ain't broke.
And you go to some other event that's catered, and I tell you, you realize how good Proof of the Pudding actually is.
Oh, yeah.
We knew that from Savannah.
First class.
All right, any questions on the budget level? Pages 1 through 9. Any additional questions there?
No more.
Parking, is it gonna be the same, or are we anticipating that's page 1 of 9, parking.
What's your line item on that?
5120, page 1 of 9. We don't expect any increases coming here next year, do we?
Not yet, but we will eventually increase because the parking lot behind us, the airport property parking, they're at $18.
Yeah,
So
18.
hopefully with, once we can get our business back where we need it to, we want to go to $15 because we're cashless now, so.
Do they have options in terms, is that hourly, daily, or what is that? 'Cause
It
it's
is
just-
$18 if it's, I think it's by 4 hours, and their 24-hour rate is higher than that.
Okay. Where the parking ticket and I don't know where everybody is nowadays.
Parking ticket is higher than we are per day. I think they're $24, $25 per
It
day.
used to be $9, and I thought that was too much.
Well, you have to look at parking is just revenue that you put in the bank. Other than paying for part-time staff, you could turn a parking lot 3 or 4 times. So.
Yeah. All right.
Any other questions on the budget level? All right, hearing none, we will go ahead and move forward to the Gateway Center Arena. Questions on page 1?
Food and beverage estimate is on the very first line, 5,100. You all had estimated, 1,700,000 and cut it to $1 million. Do you feel like that revenue is pretty good? That
Well, actually, I had a conversation with the finance director, and I would rather be above it than below it. So we have adjusted it again to about 750,000, and I reduced some of the expenses on the other end to equal that.
So you're going to change that 100 to,
I'm going to change it to 750,000. I mean, yes.
Line 34, 5,100, the first line.
Yeah, it says
Oh,
$1 million.
I'm sorry. I gave you the wrong number. We're going to change it to $1 million instead of 1.7.
Oh, it already is there, okay.
yeah,
That-
you
that-
brought it down 700.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
1 million is the number that's in the budget, correct?
Okay.
Yes.
But the actual in 2022 was 238,000 at the 3/4 point, so add another 800,000 onto that maybe.
Okay, hold tight. Okay.
And so 238 and 100 would be 338, so 310, 318, okay, 318, and you're at $1 million. So things are really gonna get a lot better next year.
That's what I was just explaining. So when we did the budget, the recommendation that we gave the city manager at first was 1.7 million. And then we took it down. And in my mind, I think we need to take it down even lower. And that's where I got my $750,000 from. I want to take it down from $1 million to $750,000.
Okay, so my previous question, the number in the budget may be tonight 1 million, but you're suggesting we drop it by 250,000.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
Yep.
What are you going to do with the other 250,000 that you
we
what are
make
you gonna
cuts.
cut out for 250?
I made cuts along the way in a lot of the different line items for the arena. We did cut that as well. I would rather give a realistic number and come above it than to give an unrealistic number and not be able to reach it. Because we really don't know what the arena is capable of because we really haven't had it open for a whole year.
Can you give us an estimate back as to, or a list back as to what adjustments you want to make, both plus and both to revenue and expenses?
Yes, sir.
And do you intend to contain the revenue reductions within your own organization compensated by expense reductions?
Exactly.
Is that what you're planning to do?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if she could give us that list, that would be a good
I
thing.
can send it to you,
Tonight?
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
You got, so it looks like, you got 15 people here, staff-wise, if I'm counting this right, they're about.
Yes, most of our staff that we use when we have an event, we contract the staff out. That's just the permanent staff.
So this is the basic, so there's more than that come in when you
That
have
comes in, yes. When they come in, you have to have people that are taking tickets. You have to have security guards. You have to have people that are wanting people. You have to have people that's cleaning the bathroom. This is just your base staff.
All right. Now, can any of these people, are they able to float between there and the GICC when you don't have any action at the arena?
We do float them.
Okay.
We float the operations people and the housekeeping people between both buildings.
Okay, that's good to know.
You know, when we talk about making some reductions, the GICC and sales and putting people into the building, it's gonna take a lot to keep that going and to get out there and beat the bushes, because everybody's looking.
Right.
So, you know, we need to make sure that we're getting out there, not selling ourselves short, and getting out there and spending the money that we need to spend to drum up business.
We haven't always placed.
I guess that's where I'm going.
We haven't always placed a high value on marketing, and
Yes.
it's vitally important.
What were we
now.
talking about today?
Marketing.
Yeah.
We are actually, Councilman Allen, we're working with the DMO, and they have more funds too. It's not unusual for a city event, we call it buying an event, but you're basically paying for their space because you get more value from their guest rooms. So we've done that with several groups. So the DMO, along with the salespeople for the convention center, they're on a mark to go out, find as much business as we can, buy it, and bring it into the city. We're also working with marketing so that we're going to relaunch the arena because the arena kind of had a hard time. It opened in 19, it had to close in 20, and I had the Fox Theater, they did some surveys for me. And when they had a couple of concerts booked at the arena, people knew who the artist was, but they did not know where the building was. So we're having to relaunch and remarket who we are, where we are, partner with some radio stations. The Fox Theater, their fees, they're actually going to do half of their fees so that we can put some more money into marketing and getting out there and just having people in the arena. So it's almost like a baby that started to walk and we made it sit down. So
Well, and I see the Fox Theater selling other venues at other places, and they seem to have some pretty good names coming all the time. And my first thought is, why didn't they come to us? So,
because people don't know who we are. We had one group that was booked at the arena. No tickets were bought, and that's when they decided to do the survey because they don't remember who we are.
And Ken, it's one thing you got to keep in mind about our center. We got a lot of advantages, you know, the airport, the convention center connectivity, MARTA, everything, the whole nine. But one of the big disadvantages is there are very few arenas that are built and constructed that you cannot see at all. If you're on the front road, you can't see it. If you're on the back road, you can't see it. You know, but that's part of the process of letting. If you can't name any arenas that you can't see off the road, so people will pass by it and say the 40,000 people that drive up and down Camp Creek, they'll never see it. But we still have advantages as well. I never realized how much it costs to staff an arena till, I went on the tour today. This is the first time I got to see the rest of the arena, but I went on the Mercedes-Benz tour before they opened up, and it was something. I mean, at a whole 75,000 people, they staffed that thing full out at 4,700 people. And when I was county commissioner, we had 5,000 employees countywide, and it was 4,700 just for that event. And when they had a concert, they have to have 3,000 people to handle that concert, just staff. And I was like, it's just enormously expensive to do a convention center, but we do it for,
Well, we just need to toot our own horn and get out there, and if we need to spend the money to get it going, You gotta spend money to bring money in too, so, let's don't forget that. We
So,
all do a great job. I appreciate it.
so is that Fox Theater consulting fee, is that going to be half of the number that we see on page, and I apologize for jumping ahead, gentlemen, but she mentioned it. It's page 5 of 8 of the budget level, line 526172. Is that 37,500? Is that going to be cut in half, or is that half?
That is half.
Okay, all right.
We're cutting it down?
No, that is half.
What line are you on?
526172. It is on page
Oh,
5
okay.
of 8 of the budget level.
Is it the BMI thing?
It's the Fox Theater consulting fee.
Page 104.
Oh, I see it.
I was just jumping ahead a little bit because she had referenced that the Fox was cutting their fee in half. So that was one of the questions I had anyway. Councilman Gay, I saw you with your hand up there. I'm sorry.
I have a question on page 104, line item 51, 5010. It's just a general question. In 2021, the actual amount, that was COVID. And I noticed in 2023 and 2022, my question is, we were able to retain all the employees in the COVID year?
What's the line item, Councilman Gay?
51, 5010. The 2021 actual amount is 545,000. My question was, were we able to keep all of our people on payroll during COVID?
For the most part, I don't think we furloughed maybe 3 people. No, we furloughed 3 people. But when we furloughed them, we didn't let them go. We sent one over here to work in City Hall. We sent another one to work in the police department. So that's probably why the revenue's still showing out here. But we furloughed them, but they were still working for the city.
Well, I'm saying we were closed, but we kept the staff. Weren't we closed?
No,
The arena wasn't closed?
no. We were limited in the number of people that could be in the arena, but we were not closed.
We were not closed.
They had women's basketball for a long time.
Did they? Okay.
Did we ever really make any real money off the concert thing when that was going on?
The one outside?
Yeah.
The concerts outside were going well. The problem is when we did the younger groups, it was a life safety issue because we had to have more police officers to check for weapons in the cars, and we had people that were putting weapons in the bushes and come back and get them. And it was the last one we had. We prayed our way through, and we said we would never have another one because it was just grace that we got through that one.
Wow.
All right, so the budget worksheet report, the first 4 pages. Questions in there. I have one on page 2 of 4.
Okay.
Line 52, 5780. The grounds expense is going up pretty significantly.
Yes. Yeah. We put out a new RFP, and it went up for the convention center as well as for the arena.
As well as for what?
The arena and the convention center.
So both, okay.
Are we gonna get the sign fixed that the guy ran over?
It's fixed.
It's already fixed? Okay.
Let me ask you, I know you got R&M on 5740. What was it I wanted to? Oh, so the sales, is that something that we could like pressure wash that, or is that gonna have to be repainted or?
We can pressure wash the sales, but that wouldn't be in the arena budget. That would be in the convention center.
Right. Okay. Well, that's just something I saw just in
Yep.
general. I said to myself, I'm assuming it's in there, but they look like they could use a good scrubbing.
Any other questions on the first 4 pages?
Contractual services for projects, we expect that to go down?
What line, what page and what line?
I'm on page 3, line 52, 6172.
Okay.
352.
That's the Fox Theater. Okay, forget that.
Oh,
That's-
okay, yep, that's it,
okay.
yep.
You've already answered that.
All right, so we're through the first 4 pages. And budget level, pages 1 through 8.
was something I just saw that just doubled up. I think it was janitorial supplies, but now I can't find it. Oh, okay, I see it. 3 or 4. So we're projecting 60,000. I'm assuming that's from coming out of, well, 22. The actual amount is about 20,000. So we're tripling janitorial supplies.
Well, you do have to remember that last year, we could not have 100% of people in the building. We were limited for both games, and also we do other things there. We've had a couple movie shoots there. We've had a high school game there. We have a couple graduations coming up, but we were limited in the number of people that we had. Now, this year, we have graduations plus a full season of both teams' games.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
an e-sport event.
All right.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
On package page 1 of 8,
Mm-hmm.
is the basketball facility fee? No, the arena rentals, is that Skyhawks?
That's rental we would get from the Skyhawks or from the Dream, or when people are having concerts. Those are revenues that we would get from them.
And my second question is, the last line item on the same page, transfer in, is that to carry us over on our revenue, or will that always be a transfer in?
Transfer in.
Will that always be a transfer in until we bring in more revenue?
2.8 is from car rental for the,
There'd probably always be a transfer in because it's.
No, the last one, motel tax.
yes, probably. If, revenues don't exceed expenses or balance out, there will always be.
We'll bring that in from our
Yes,
motel
sir.
tax.
Because that covers operations, doesn't it?
Yes, sir. Ma'am, excuse me, yes, ma'am.
And which line item is the, car rental? The one we cut to deal with the landlord.
That's the next line,
Yeah.
on the next page.
Transfer car in,
That's to pay the debt service.
you're right, I see it.
And if we're not taking the naming rights, should that come off page 1 of 8?
No, that just means we're not taking their naming rights, but we're gonna.
No,
gonna
he's
get
saying
one.
that
We're
this
just
is
gonna-
gonna come
okay.
on. Okay, yeah, okay.
Other questions?
No.
On these 8 pages?
No.
Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead. Move to the next department. It's the golf course. On the budget worksheet, page 1 of 4. Questions? Hearing none.
When we,
Page-
when we have outfits like this, I guess next time out, I'd like to have the manager of the course here.
Yeah, Jason oversees the golf course.
Is he here? Oh, okay, all right, okay. I didn't know you had the golf course too. All right, okay, good deal.
Under 5010, we're talking about the operating salary. That going up, is that based on,
What line?
Are you adding the person?
That is line 51, 5010.
right?
No, we're not adding anyone.
No, they had 118 and you recommended 137. Is that based on what we expect percentages to go up?
Actually, for a while in 22, they were without a manager. So Jason just kind of filled in. And then they were out of some other positions. So I think now they're finally fully staffed except for the part-time receptionist.
So how many total that is, total employees? And that-
6.
6?
Mm-hmm.
So 5 of those positions are filled? Okay, so you're back at the convention center all the way now, right?
Actually, I'm over there probably 4 times a week.
Okay.
Go back and forth.
Is it because because that position that isn't filled over there, or is it?
No, we're taking care of, it's basically a receptionist role that does some of the billing
Billing.
and some of the admin stuff that we're taking care of at this point.
Okay. Now, I understand, with the golfing industry over COVID, apparently everyone's saying that it's been like skyrocketing here. I don't see we're looking, we're projecting $280,000?
What line,
Yep,
Joe?
you're projecting
I'm
your
sorry,
revenues to go up.
It's the revenues.
Revenues.
You have an
Total
increase in revenues.
Okay. Now, I've seen, now, a few years back, I saw upwards of $400,000 in terms of, or maybe I was looking. Okay, I was looking at revenue totals. Okay, down here. Okay, now we're more in the ballpark down here. Okay, I got it. Okay, so that's 28% increase. That's pretty good. All right.
Councilman?
Yeah.
Page 104, 39,1200. Here again, is this money that we're bringing into the budget, operating transfer in?
The miscellaneous income?
No,
Oh, the
32,
transfer in.
39,
That's
1200.
another transfer in. Yes, sir.
Yes.
That's another
Where's
transfer
that
in.
coming from?
General fund.
And is that to make it balance? Is that until the revenue
For
comes up?
operations. Mhm.
Any other questions on page 1?
Nope.
Moving to page 2.
I got a question on 52, 3,300 and 6,000. Both of them say advertising expenses. Is it
52, 30,
bottom of page 2, 3,300?
Oh, there it is. I'm
and
sorry. Thank
6,000.
you.
Both of them say advertising expenses. And I didn't know if there was a reason we have two advertising expenses.
What-
It looks like there's two figures in there.
One's not budgeted.
Now, one has 0 and one has 2,500.
Right,
So-
but the amended previous budget had 2,000 and 1,000. I didn't know why. Why don't we just take off the 3,300? I don't know.
I don't know, but we'll have it removed because this is the first year that we're having to do the budget.
It's probably on there, I guess, because we had an amended budget for it.
And it might be the account number. Okay.
The next line, bank charges, went way higher than was budgeted, but we're still projecting the same number that was in the amended budget.
That's a good question. What'd you say? Okay, Jane says something has to be coded wrong, so we may need to take a look at that.
Speaking of bank charges, I guess, I know that at some point we decided to go cashless over there at the convention center. I don't know if that's made us money, or I'm assuming that streamlined things, I'd imagine, but would that make sense for a golf course, or no?
Now, you got a lot of retired folks that come in cash,
Yeah.
and they're not using cards, and some of them that don't want their wives to know how much they're spending on golf.
Good point. All right.
Not even talking about what they bet on the course.
Leave well enough alone. All right. Yeah, okay.
All right.
Let's back up to grounds. Now, I understand that last meeting I guess we tabled or took off the mowers and your stuff here.
It's
And-
coming back to the next meeting. We
good,
just
good.
wanted to make sure we got our numbers right.
Okay.
Our numbers were off from procurement, so we took it off, took it back, got our numbers correct, and it'll be back on the next agenda.
Glad to hear that, because I'm assuming, obviously spring is well here, and whatever it is, you definitely need it. So we want to make sure you get what you need, but it's right, and how we're going to make the purchase or whatever have you. We talked about over the years the hotels putting together packages with the golf course, and I ran it up the flagpole once I got the repairs in. When I put the cart, we put the cart paths in, and did the driving range and kind of made some improvements there. And then we came back around to the hotels, and it was an issue of, the hotels, it's still a municipal golf course, and it still wasn't up to the caliber where they would feel comfortable with putting it in a package. That was kind of the sentiment then. I don't know if at one point or another we circled back there. I mean, I think it's still looking very good out there, but it's
I
comparable
don't think it would
to-
be an issue selling the packages. The problem is getting people over there, because usually people fly in, they don't have their cars. I think once the bridge is in, it'll help a lot in
Yeah.
having people go over to the golf course. We just have to build it in right, so.
All right, yeah, okay.
Well, once we get the bridge over Camp Creek built, then you'll
Make
be
a
able to
big
golf
difference.
cart across from the convention center.
Exactly.
Be a big help.
Ms. Miller, I have a question.
Yes.
There's no more consideration to take out two of the holes?
To take out,
Two of the holes?
no, that was, that was through economic development, and whatever the deal was, it canceled, so, no, sir.
Any other questions on page 2?
Nope.
Is the Top Golf thing still gonna come in, and is that gonna affect the configuration or not? Because at first I was told that we're close to selling at 12 acres for that thing or something like that, or?
I can't speak on the acreage. It may affect the course somewhat, but your true golfer's not gonna go to Top Golf. They're flight limited flight balls. You don't get the same play. It'll be a nice addition, more of a practice area, but I don't think it's gonna have a huge impact on the golf.
Did we get any money from First Tee at all?
We haven't finalized that deal yet.
Oh, okay,
We're still in the negotiating process.
okay. We need to publicize that a lot if we
Yeah.
get it, because that's a good program.
It's a great program.
Very good.
Any other questions on page 2?
No.
Moving to page 3. I had a question, 537020 for janitorial supplies. Is it realistic considering where we are for this year?
We might need to increase that. I'll look into that, but we do need to increase it based on where we are.
And same question on 536420. And that's proof staff, right?
Yes.
So we're gonna ratchet that down?
Well, you have to remember, last year was when they first started.
Okay.
So they were putting a lot of people out there, they had to buy new equipment, they were trying a lot of things. I think now they have the swing of things, so I think we're
Pun
good.
intended, right?
Yes. Yes.
Any other questions on page 3?
Glad to see that you're getting a computer hardware in here. It looks like you haven't had any for a while, so.
No, I don't think they have.
No, I just think it's great. I got good written beside it, so. That's all I've got.
Page 4.
On the capital lease purchase, will the equipment that we have now go out to auction? The mowers and stuff.
About the auction, certainly discuss that in order to be used other places in the city.
I think it goes, what does Moody do with the old equipment?
I guess I was asking, will it go to building and grounds, it's just shot, we can't use it?
They see if it can be transferred to other departments, depending on the condition, if it can't, it'll be auctioned out of the department.
I know they haven't bought equipment in 20 years, but anything that we have, we do share it with the other departments.
It's not related, but is there Easter sunrise service at the golf course this year? No.
All right, so that covers page 4. Any other questions on page 4? All right. On the budget level, we've got 4 pages of that. Questions? Hearing none, we'll move forward to the hospitality fund.
That would not be me. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Good job, guys.
Thank you very much. This is a very short 2 pages, barely goes over to page 2, so questions for Ms. Fleur Bradley. Line 52, 54, 50. The legal fees seem like they went pretty high in relation to what we'd budgeted.
Yeah, I would have to look at the detail for, it depends on what activity's going on.
Okay.
I have a
So it can
question.
fluctuate from year to year. I don't think there's any set amount depending on the activity that's going on. But there's definitely room, funding to move around.
On, package page 102, line item 4140 4101.
414101.
Yes. And the 2022 actual amount, and then the 2023, these are the amounts that will go from our percentage of hotel motel tax to DMO.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The figure for the actual amount, is that averaged over
Yes.
what you estimated based on the average? Okay.
Yes, based on a 6-month average,
Okay.
which we collected, because it's about 2 months behind.
So that'll go up because it's not the end of the fiscal year.
I'm sorry, what would go up? Yes, the actual will go up. I'm missing 6 months' worth of revenue.
Other questions on pages 1 and 2?
Yeah, I have a question, 526010, the DMO distribution, what is that exactly? It's showing up as an expense.
Yes, because that's the amount that we pay over to the DMO, remit over to the DMO. We remit 19% of the overall collection.
It comes
But
into the
it's-
city
but
and then
And then we
goes
send
out.
it out.
But it's doubling.
It's doubling,
Well, in 2022, it was 1,036,000, and it's 2,072,000.
Well,
Yes.
we're only at 64% though.
I'm
Why-
sorry?
Why the big change?
Which line item, please?
This is
I'm sorry, it's
52, 60, 10.
526010, under expenses.
it depends on how much funding we receive. If I'm estimated $12 million in total, they receive 19% of it. So so basically I take,
But I'm sorry, but what that says is that they're expecting to get twice as much.
yes,
If we're getting X% of it, to get twice as much, the total has to be twice as much.
well, it's not necessarily twice as much.
Well, it's 1,036 versus 2,072.
But that's where we are through 3/4 of the year though,
Pardon?
right? I mean, the 1,036,000.
Yes,
That's an average of where we are through
Current.
3/4
Okay,
of the
that's,
year.
I'll agree with you. That's linear, so that's 1,036. So about 300 more thousand to the end of the year, maybe, say 1.4 million. And you're going to be jumping from 1.4 million to over 2 million.
no, I
That's-
should,
So that's not doubling, but, it is a pretty big increase. We're expecting things to get that much better.
based on where we are now, because I take our average and I actually reduced it by a penalty that we charge a hotel for paying late. So based on what we're collecting now, because at one point in time, we were at about $12 million just in hotel motel receipts. Now I have us at about 9.5 million. We were at 12 to 13, but based on my collections now, so I linearized it based on the collections as of 6 months, and I averaged it out for 12
So
months.
that's really good news.
And whatever 314101 is, I mean, 526010, those numbers are going to be the same.
Correct.
Those expenses and revenue are gonna,
Yeah, the
equal out.
percentages
Should be the
are
same
yeah,
as
because
the
whatever,
hotel
whatever we
tax.
bring in, they get their amount.
Right.
So even if that is high, then I mean, the revenue will
The
adjust.
revenue will, you're saying the revenue will compensate?
Yeah,
Or the expense will compensate for the revenue?
yes.
I have a question. With, unlike any other line item in this budget, with the DMO, so the 2022 and the 2023 revenue, we don't see it anywhere else in this budget for what is expended on. So we have to look at a separate budget to see what those.
As far as the DMO? Yes, sir.
And I was gonna ask, where's the DMO tab? I realized we didn't have one in this book.
We normally don't, but if that's,
Well, no, we absolutely need to see that. I understand it's a state-created entity, and we helped push to make sure we got it, thanks to Senator Vincent Fort. But so is BIDA, and it's here. Understood.
They on different fiscal years? Could then, maybe why don't we get the previous fiscal year? Like we got previous years in this?
I don't know if their fiscal budget is aligned. I don't think that's mandated by the state necessarily. It would kind of make sense if it's not to align them up with us, possibly if that's possible. And in general, Ms. Tyus, what I want to do is at one of the next meetings coming up here pretty soon, I'd like to get them in here and just get an update to get caught up to where it is, because I have no idea what's going on over there, and I'd just like to get an update of where they're at, everything, budget, line items, expenses, everything. I'd like to see what's going on over there.
That'll be cookie smoke.
Yeah, cookie, right, yep. But I like that, I wanna, I'd like to see that in the next year's budget book, so we can have them in here and ask those detailed questions as well.
And my final question is 526590. Probably already been answered. What's contingencies?
that's the amount we have in revenues over expenditures, which we plan to use, part of that to fund the general fund equipment.
That's the money that we, in the beginning of the presentation, that's not funded?
No. The revenues exceed expenditures, so basically I place it under contingencies. But we will be utilizing those funds to finance, equipment from the general fund.
So their revenue, this revenue exceeded expenditures.
Correct.
That's good. So,
And we also have a contingency this year, $2 million, if you
so why
noticed
couldn't
that.
it be used in one of the line items that says when transfers in?
Transfers out?
Fund? You know, when I asked the question about the two transfer ins, why couldn't that revenue be used as a transfer in instead of taking the transfer in from another fund?
As far as the transfers from general fund to the golf course,
Or GICC?
and it's coming from.
This line item is one of those transfer ins?
Yes, if you look before, there's operating transfers out of $2 million to GICC, and another $1.5 million to the arena, and $725,000 to BIDA.
That's it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's on page 2 of the budget level.
All right, great. Just need to turn the page, don't I?
Additional questions for Ms. Ford Bradley?
No, good.
All right, then we'll move on to car rental fund. Any questions for her there? It's pretty straightforward.
First couple of lines, explain to me just real quickly the difference between our car rental tax, 1301, and car rental tax earned, 1302, and just,
There's really not a difference. They just created the two accounts, but there's really not a difference. They have two of the same accounts.
so, okay, looks like we budgeted
The 400,000 that you see budgeted, that comes from the city of Atlanta. I just moved that to a separate, yeah.
Okay,
The 3.2 comes from the collections, but we made a deal with the city of Atlanta that they would pay us $200,000 semi-annually,
state
so
fund.
that's what that is.
Okay.
Have they been paying it with COVID and everything?
Yes. This year we were paid, but last year we weren't.
But we did lose $3.2 million, Councilman Gay, for.
No, it was a
for
little bit
1 year.
less, but,
It's about 3.1. We got
Yeah.
$180,000
mhm.
in 2020.
And that's the amended, that's why we went from the 1 million to the 3.2,
Well, we didn't expect to get $3.2 million, but we hoped we didn't get the 3.2, but we did.
Right, and that was the trigger.
We would have been better off had we not
Exactly,
gotten it.
right.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we haven't
That
gotten
was
2 years.
Bit of bad luck there, but won't happen next year, right?
Hopefully. Prayerfully.
Any other questions on the car rental fund?
Nope.
All right, then we are concluded this evening. It is 8:39.
I'd just like to thank Ms. Tyus and Althea and your staff. I mean, y'all put in tireless efforts on this and a lot of time, a lot of sleepless nights, putting these numbers together and changing them around. So thank you all very much, and thank all the departments for this has run very smooth.
Ms. Adele, with the new Atlanta parking lot, will any of that revenue be projected in any part of our budget going forward?
The new parking lot? No, we haven't projected any new revenue in relation to the parking lot. No,
Revenue projected?
no.
So do we, I mean, we see something from that outside of power. Do we see any piece of that occupancy tax or something? Don't we see a piece of that?
A piece of, I'm sorry.
The 5,000 space parking deck?
Don't see anything?
I think that's all
Zip,
owned by the
literally
city of,
zilch.
that's the city of Atlanta.
All right.
Excellent job, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you
this
very
was
much.
good.
Appreciate it.
Smooth sailing.
Have a great evening, everybody.